So, we wanted to talk a little bit today about a significant and interesting life change that our Clarity House Sacred Community family went through and is still going through, but it started about 6 months ago, maybe even 8 months ago, was it now? That we realized that we wanted to remove the last piece of reliance on fossil fuels in our home. And the last piece of that was our gas stove. And for safety and health and environmental reasons, and also because we just really were receiving the message that we were to get rid of that, we decided to have it disconnected. And interestingly enough, that also happened at the same time. We went ahead and made the decision, even though financially we weren't in a position at that time to replace the gas stove with an electric stove. So we, in our typical fashion of trying to live a life where we are raising our consciousness and wanting to expand our consciousness so we see everything as a practice, we wondered what this opportunity was presenting to us. And so we started getting creative about it, and we started seeing where we could make this work.
So a lot of the electrical cooking devices that we've collected over the years in the basement and in the art studio and different places where we've been given things or found things, we all of a sudden it's almost like Fantasia. It's like they all started to
Animate
walk all
themselves.
walk their way up to the kitchen and plant themselves as just our new and old friends. And it's
like look at me, look what I could do.
I know. So we've all been able to really embrace all of the things from electric soup pots to, just these skillets and roasting ovens, and so we wanted to include some different pictures of all of our friends.
Yes.
That all of a sudden it's like they have a whole nother calling in their life.
They really do.
We dusted them off and they came so forward, and they've just been amazing. They've worked so hard to help us.
They really have.
And they have been incredible friends helping us with a transition into this time.
It was, and it's been totally supportive.
And it's been so easy.
And
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and you got to realize that we're a family of 5, a community family of 5 adults, and we rarely eat out. We rarely do takeout. So we are preparing 3 meals a day for 5 people, and so this is no small thing for us to shift.
This kitchen is a busy kitchen.
It's a busy kitchen. So we shifted, and all of these friends came forward to animate themselves and show us how we could adapt recipes, adapt the way that we cook, see how we could creatively prepare a full course meal for ourselves that we used to use a stove and an oven for, and they have provided us the means to do that, and we stepped into gratitude for that. But I have to say, and I think you experienced, as we moved through this process and this life change, it was really significant, and it gave us opportunities daily to face into irritations and challenges and ways that we had to adjust ourselves to recipes that we had used forever, and that we knew exactly timing and how to make them work on a stove and in an oven. And then all of a sudden we weren't cooking with gas anymore, and so
it's like all of a sudden the little toaster oven that we had became like our primary oven.
Yeah.
And so but along the way we have found like, wow, scones really cook better in the oven, and oh my gosh, you can actually make bread
in the toaster oven.
And so we were finding these ways, and so all of a sudden the ease and the comfort of cooking in this way, once we kind of went through the transition time, we have felt the comfort and the ease.
Yes.
And we've really embraced a lot of different ways. Like they'll become the way that we do it even once we get an electric stove.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden that soup pot that we've been using boils like so fast. I mean, so there's actually some efficiency.
Yeah.
like the roasting oven
Yeah.
actually was a more efficient way to cook a turkey, or
Ye-
to do a casserole, or
Yeah. And you're
bread,
not
even,
heating up
or
an entire oven.
yeah,
So
cakes and
I
different
think
things.
there's a lot of places where
So
we'll be
it's
using it.
probably not using as much electricity to
Right.
even use that. So there were a lot of benefits
Right.
that we've experienced together. So
Yeah.
and along the way, we've been able to incorporate a sacred practice while we're in the kitchen.
Yes.
And I feel like this has just been a new level of incorporating this into our sacred practice
agree.
of being in the kitchen. And the primary thing about being in the kitchen is working with assimilation
Yes.
and taking in your life through
Mhm.
and having food help you take in your life and
Absolutely.
break things down and digest your life.
Mhm.
So it's a real important place in our home. And so some of the pictures you'll see here, we have also a sacred space
Yes,
of
in our
where
kitchen.
we go to, usually in the mornings when we first get there, and we'll be able to pick a few oracles that will help
Yeah,
kind
we
of
have
set the energy.
We have the Kuan Yin oracle, we have the Oya oracle, and the Ganesha's Fugue oracle actually in the kitchen that we can call upon, and those have all been ones that Clarity has done and brought through. And what we find as part of our practice is that we can go to that to set our day, to give us insight about what we're going to be moving.
Mm-hmm.
And actually what we found, it was the fastest way to help us move through this life change of not having a stove or being able to get one at that time.
Help support the pattern
It's-
of change and transition.
It did, and that was the way, is by taking those patterns, we were able to take those in, and it helped us ease the transition. It helped give us insight. I know it gave us creative ideas and solutions of how to do workarounds with not having a stove or an oven. And every day we did that, and we did it to set the day for what we were cooking. But then we also went to it if we ran into a snag, if we got irritated or frustrated
and sometimes
about
having
things.
to change recipes. You run into
That's
changing measurement sizes, serving
Oh,
sizes,
yeah.
all those kinds of adjustments.
Well, and you got to realize if we weren't cooking with gas anymore, we were mostly using these little hot plates, and they take a long time to heat up. And then once they are hot, they stay hot even after you've turned them off. So we had to learn after burning things, after a lot of patience, waiting for things that normally would have taken only a certain amount of time, that we had to factor in more time to wait for something to boil or come to the temperature we needed. So those kind of frustrations and needing to adjust things, it required a lot of breathing, and it required a lot of dancing in the kitchen. And
the patience, I feel, was really helpful. And I noticed that, like, the time it would take to cook some eggs, for instance, I found myself realizing, wow, this is quite an exaggerated waiting time.
Yeah.
And in that time, I would try to focus on maybe breathing a little more.
Yes,
like you're
me
saying.
too. Yes.
Or just allowing more space and room to, okay, this is just part of my sacred practice.
And we'd have more conversation, right?
Yeah. And
we'd stand around the kitchen over the pot waiting for it to boil, and it would bring up conversation that we might not have had.
And I found myself actually being more patient, like even while I was driving somewhere to, if we're going to the grocery store to pick up some things, I found myself like being more patient even while I was waiting in lines or behind somebody that was driving slower. I found myself realizing that patience of that process in the kitchen was starting to really impact,
translate in the outer,
the outer world that we live in. So that was just like really pretty interesting.
It was and is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a continual thing.
It's been a real gift that we've experienced.
Absolutely.
And for some people, they think that was a terrible thing to happen. But really, somehow, and I love the work that Clarity does, because it helps bring new perspectives. And it completely flipped the whole experience into something that we really wanted.
It was. It's become an opportunity.
And it's been really wonderful. So.
And I just wanted to close by saying that I really believe that when you are a seeker and you're a person, as we are as a community, of individuals, of people that want a practice. You need a practice to be able to expand your consciousness and to grow and to change. But the only way you can actually have a practice is to have opportunities to practice those things. And this, being in the kitchen and cooking without a stove, has become a practice for us that is worth practicing. And because it's brought up things that we wouldn't have known any other way, that we needed or wanted to shift and move. And so we've been grateful for the patterns that we have and that we can go to help us move through that transitional life change.
And I just wanted to add just briefly too that when you look at kitchens from the 1700s and 1800s, what women had to go through in the kitchen to just make something, by starting the fire, cooking over a cauldron, and talk about slow cooking, so when we use our slow cooker today, I mean, it has been quite an evolution for that. So I feel like I feel really grateful for all the generations of women and men in the kitchens too. But I feel like it's their creative expressions have really evolved and allowed for a lot of the electrical cooking devices to emerge, from an egg, to make hard-boiled eggs. We have a fancy cooker now. Yeah. But it's like, they had to eventually start. It had to start so basic. Yeah. But it's also just a little cheers to all the generations of women that had to really be patient and to cook for their families and to provide for their families in that way. And I just think it's pretty amazing how lucky we are to have things that actually cook things. Yeah. It takes a few minutes to make eggs, but for them it probably took a lot longer. So we're grateful.
We sure are.
The generations of women that endured.
Yes, indeed. Well said. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we just wanted to share that life change that we've gone through and how we're navigating that.
Thanks so much.